I'm Reese Fant, and I look at things in a different light. I'm from Possum Kingdom, by the way. I lived there 54 years. My love of my life started when I was like 11 years old, and I found out speed was the most wonderful thing in the world. And I was 12, and I was sitting at my grandmother's kitchen table on a Sunday having lunch, and somebody said something about a job, and I said, I want a job, I want money. And my Uncle Charlie was the foreman of the Anderson Independent Press Room, and he said, I'll give you a job if you'll lie about it. I said, how big a lie I gotta tell? He said, 16. I said, I can tell that lie. So the next Saturday night at midnight, my daddy carried me to the Anderson Independent, and I went in the mailing room and put the comics in the Sunday papers by hand for 5 a.m. Daddy picked me up the next morning. I did that 3 weeks, and then he said, boy, you can drive. You take my car and go to work. And I've already told all the highway patrolmen and the deputies and everything in Anderson County that you're going to be in my car and you're 12 years old and you don't have a driver's license. And if they see you anywhere besides the Independent and my house, put you in jail and call me at 9 o'clock Monday morning. I looked at things in a different light. I fell. I bought me a motorcycle. And I had a highway patrolman live next door, and he knew I didn't have a driver's license, and hell, everybody knew I didn't have a driver's license. But I would push it. If he was at home, I'd push it till I got it out of hearing, and then I'd crank it up and go on. Well, I was up next to Clemson riding along, minding my own business, and I met him. And he slammed on the brakes, and there was a pasture there, and I laid my motorcycle down underneath the barbed wire fence, and I drug it under that fence, and I took off across that pasture, and him hollered, Fan, I know you, come back here, I got you, come back here. And I never looked back, because I look at things in a different light, you understand. And about 2 weeks later, I fell. And if you ever fall on a motorcycle, don't be 13 years old and wear cut-off blue jeans and T-shirt and tennis shoes, because you're gonna get skinned up. And I was laying there at the house, growing a new skin, sticking to the sheets, and I heard a truck pull in the yard, and this man got out, and my daddy's sitting on the front porch, and he said, I want to buy that motorcycle. Daddy said, it's for sale. He didn't have a dime in that motorcycle. It's mine. And me screaming, don't sell my motorcycle, Daddy, don't sell my motorcycle. And the guy said, I'd like to have it, but I ain't got $15. And the daddy said, open your tailgate. And they throwed my motorcycle in that tailgate, and he drove off into the distance, and Daddy come in there and said, boy, so I'm going to make a deal with you. You stay off motorcycles the rest of your life. Never ride again. When you get 14, get your driver's license, I'll help you buy a car. That's a deal. If you ever rode a motorcycle in the cold or the rain, that's prime right there. And I said, I will do that. But I was still working, and I was saving my money for the car. Well, I got 14, got my driver's license, pretty good eyesight, can't see no car. After about a month, I said, Daddy, what about my car you going to help me buy? He said, oh, yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. So your mom was pregnant, said she's had 3 miscarriages. It looks like she's going to carry this, and we can't afford for you to have a car. Forget about it. 3 weeks later, I rode in the yard on a Harley. I look at things in a different light, you understand? And Daddy said, where'd that come from? I said, Lewis Tim sold it to me on credit. He knows I'll pay him. He said, I thought we had a deal. I said, I did too, but you didn't hold your end up. Well, that was the beginning of not getting along with my daddy for the next 10 years or so. But in high school, a C was my A. Okay, if I went to school year round, the summer school and all that, I went all the time. But a C was my A, and I was proud of them. And finally, my daddy right about to get out of high school, and he said, "Boy," said, "I don't know nothing about these psychiatrists and things and all that kind of stuff." He said, "But I know you're supposed to have a high IQ. They told me that your whole life." And said, "A C is it." Except for math when I made D's in there. But I can count money though. But I look at things in a little different light. And so he said, "Would you go and see?" I said, "Yes, sir, I've never been. Hell yeah, I'll go." So I made an appointment, went to the psychiatrist. I went 3 times. And when I got there, it was the 7th floor at Anderson Hospital, and you got off the elevator, and there was his office on there, and then there was this window with barbed wire in, kind of in it, and then a door that you buzzed. And I said, what's behind that door? He said, "Oh, that's the psychiatric floor. That's where we keep people that really need help." And I said, "Oh, okay." So after the 3rd meeting with him, he said, "Boy, I don't need to talk to you." He said, "I need to talk to your daddy." I said, he can't stand it. I'm honest with you, he can't pass. And so Daddy went, and when I walked out the door, I said, "Over there on the other side, if you ever need any help, call me." And I laughed. 2 weeks later, my phone rang, and Daddy come up in the front room. He said, "Boy, Dr. Bolt wants to talk to you." I said, "Oh, Lord, he's figured out that I am crazy as hell." So I got on the phone. He said, "You said if I never needed help to call you, I'm calling you." And they said, "We have to have a male assistant on the floor 24 hours a day, and my second shift man just quit. I got to have some help in a hurry." I said, "What time is it?" He said, 2 o'clock. I said, "What time should I be there?" He said, 3:30. I said, "Okay." And I went in and told Daddy, "I got a job, psychiatric floor." They said, "Watch him, you get behind that door, and tell him when you're going to come out." But, and he looked at a different light too. But, so I went up there, and they told me, said, "Look, the first 30 minutes of each shift, you meet with the shift before, and you talk about each patient, and you write down what they said and how they acted and their demeanor and everything." Said, and you talk about each patient. Said, "At the end of the shift, you meet with the next shift, and you tell them." He said, "But since you don't know anybody, you go on down to the pool room, the day room, and we'll be down there in 30 minutes. So I went down, and they had a pool table, and I was raised on a pool table, and I said, "Let's play." Well, the guy had on pajamas and a robe and bedroom shoes, and I got to enter the general idea he's a patient. So we racked the balls, and I started running the table on him, and I got about 2/3 of the way through, and there's 2 balls there together. It's going to be a bad hit, but I can make it anyway. And I just leaned over, punched it in, and started around the table. He said, "You made a bad hit." And I never did look back. I said, "You crazy as hell." Well, then I realized, he's a patient. He got a pool cue. I have been hit with a pool cue before, and I don't want to get hit with a pool cue again. And there's this awful noise. If you've ever turned the pool cue loose and it hits the concrete floor, it makes terrible noise, and that's what I heard, and I wheeled around to defend myself, and he was gone. I look over. He running down the hall. I said, "I done screwed myself out of a job in 15 minutes here." Well, at least my car will be warm when I get back to it. Well, here they all come, the doctor, the nurses, both shifts. They all come down there just laughing and hollering. And they said, the doctor told me, said, "Reese, said, that man come in there and told us that you had solved his problem." And I said, "What you mean?" He said, "Well, he done told me I'm crazy as hell." And said, "I think he's right." for the next 2 years, you know, that's what, every time the doctor and I were there when a new patient came in, we're there together, he said, Reese, you want to diagnose this one? You want me to? But I've been, all my mama's folks was all, they raised with speed. My Uncle Charlie, he built Anderson Speedway, and he was a promoter, and I run the pit gate, and it got kind of rough from time to time. And I was a designated fighter for the whole track, and I liked that too. It wasn't a hard problem, except the time I got my teeth knocked out. But anytime at the hospital they had trouble, they always called me. 7th floor, come quick, bring a straitjacket. Well, I'd go, and they called me, and it was April the 7th, 1966. The Easter weekend was coming up, and I had got 4 hours off early. At 8 o'clock, I was going to the beach. I had a job promised. I was going to be a bouncer at Spanish Galleon at Ocean Drive. I'm going to have my own pool cue. And I got, they said, we got trouble here in the emergency room. So there's a man in the going to get x-rayed, and said he's barricaded himself in the room. He won't let anybody in there, and he won't come out. You got to help us. Come quick. And I grabbed up a straitjacket and headed down. And when I walked in there, that's the best looking little blonde you ever seen in your life standing there. I thought, oh my God, honey, where'd you come from? Well, she was the x-ray technician. And I said, I understand there's a problem here. Are you the one I'm supposed to put a straitjacket on? I looked at things in a different light, and she wasn't. They said, the man's in that room. Well, I opened my door and walked in there, and I had worked with him the year before at Southside Mill. What's wrong, man? He said, my hands all messed up. So I got in a fight with my brother and my daddy, and so over my girlfriend. Said they know my hand's broke. Said, but I'm not going to let anybody fix it because I don't want them to be right. I said, well, I could whip you last year, and I can whip you again this year, and you don't want both hands broke. You better go ahead and let her operate on, you do this on your hand. I said, besides, the quicker I get you out of here, the quicker I can go back and talk to her. Well, I carried him up to the psychiatric floor after they decided that his hand was broke. And I came down, I told her, I said, now I'll be back Sunday, I'm gonna come see you. Okay. Well, I got back Monday, which I thought was close enough, you know. And I asked her out for that night. I went to the operating room, the x-ray room, and asked her to come out there, and she did. And I said, it'll be all right if I, come by and pick you up by 7 o'clock. She said, yeah, that'd be great. Well, on my way out of the hospital, I realized I'd been up 3 days. I was barefooted. I had on cut-off blue jeans and a blue silk racing jacket with no shirt. Hadn't shaved, hygiene wasn't high when you were at the beach. I was high, but hygiene wasn't. But so we started dating, and I picked her up that night, and I had an old Thunderbird convertible, 59 Thunderbird convertible, and one of the top bows was broken, and it was just pure hell to put that top up. So I left it down all the time. I had a piece of plastic. If it looked like rain, I just throw it over the seat. I sat under a bunch of bridges, even without a motorcycle. But we were dating and coming down Clemson Highway one day, minding our own business, and we got right there at Smith Mansion, just the other side of I-85 there going towards Clemson, and that beautiful house, the colonial home with the lake and all of it. And she said, oh, what a beautiful yard. Someday maybe we can have a yard like that. And I slammed on the brakes, and we spun around in the road, and tire smoke, and her screaming, and we finally got stopped, and we're sitting sideways in the road looking at that house. I said, honey, I want to tell you one thing right now. I don't cut grass. I said, I will asphalt our yard I will paint it green in the summer and brown in the winter, but I don't cut no damn grass. Oh, I love to cut grass. I'll cut it. 54 years she's been cutting grass. I keep her 2 lawnmowers running all the time, and I don't cut grass. I got a tractor with a bush hog on it, but she won't let me do it with that, and I won't do it with the lawnmower, so I don't cut grass. But we decided, really, it was like June, late, maybe June, early middle of July that same year, 66, and we were dating along and had my own business, and she leaned over and whispered in my ear. And I said, "You're what?" And we got married in August. We made one rule to start with. Well, she's spitting out children at a high rate of speed. 3 in 3 years and a miscarriage in the middle. But I said, "Honey, I was raised in a cuss fight, and I'm not going to live like that, so we got to make some kind of rules, regulations, bylaws." And she said, "Well, what are we going to do?" I said, "Okay, here's the deal. The one that leaves has to take the children." The longest I ever stayed up was 3 days, and we worked it out pretty well. We live in Possum Kingdom and have a good time. Thank you.